can you record, please? Thank you.
Perek, where is it? I'm going Perek base.
Perek base.
Okay. Yeah, Perek base. Okay. Nikivan Hashem, the Lev puts in his little opening. Even Hashem Adam being that Hashem doesn't do good to all equally, and secondly, not everyone understands the good that Hashem does to them the same way. Therefore, the cheshbon nefesh a person has to do will not be the same as the next person. Everyone has to make the cheshbon nefesh and demand from himself the kiyum to fulfill his obligation by avodas Hashem. Behetem, according to the Torah Hashem, Hashem oisein bo. Ubehetem the mashu mevinus. Okay. And again, Rabbi Mateo explained to us when we say cheshbon nefesh, we're not talking about in the Chovos haLevavos, we're not talking about overlooking your actions, your mitzvahs. Did you do it right? Didn't you do it right? Cheshbon nefesh is more directed to my obligation to do the mitzvahs. So he says here, on that question, is it the same cheshbon nefesh everyone has to make the law? I'm going to give you the following answer. The person's desires to grow in his fulfillment of the Torah, his nahagus b'nyonei olam, and how he acts in Yonei Olam. What does that mean? Something. Should have opened it earlier. Here we go. In whatever is his daily life, it sounds like. If you look at the text on top, it says, Person's ishtadlus in his ruchnius, in his Torah, and in his world. So that it's not the same between people. It's dependent on the differences that there is in their understanding. He says different types of understandings. Midas hakarosam, sichlam, the seichel, adinus havanosam. Do they understand fine? How fine do they understand situations? Mitzuva lasos la'atma cheshbon nefesh, and each one is obligated to make this cheshbon nefesh v'lidresh me'atzmai, and to demand from himself as kiyum chayvosav, that he should fulfill his obligations by avodas habaris. Behetem, dependent on, I don't know what the exact answer hetem is, lamashu mevin es hatoivos, as he understands the good, Shabbat Meitiv Loi Ba'ifin Yachad Bnei Adam Acherim, the good that Hashem does in a general way, that includes all people, V'shu Meitiv Rak Loi Ba'ifin Miyuchad, and what he does specifically to him. So here it's very clear that Hakaras Hatov is saying that our obligations to fulfill the Torah is dependent on Hakaras Hatov, what Hashem does for us. Not like we understand generally. Because we're at Har Sinai, Hashem commanded us to keep the Torah. Right? He's going, like, I guess, on a more basic level, that even if we didn't learn mitzvah, I think he had said that earlier, if you remember, way back, maybe John, something. That it's a basic midah of a person to be makir tov. If someone does you a benefit, you're responsible to have a hakaras hatov and give back. I think to remember that. What's that?
I know the statement does stand for itself. At the same time, Hashem gave you all these wonderful things. Hashem also gave you these nisyonos. So if you look at
nisyonos are good also, Ron.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I know about me. I won't go to a workout room.
1 second. Waze keeps cutting into me. I have to drive right now.
But I wouldn't go to a workout room because there's a lot of nisyonos in the room, and I don't like those nisyonos. But I'm also, by staying outside, I end up being a wimp. No growth. Okay, but someone who faces the nisyonos grows, becomes strong. And that's what nisyonos are all about. They're for us to challenge us to grow, to become great, and most hard.
Right. That wasn't what I was saying. What you were kind of saying, like, oh, we should have a hakaras hatov to Hashem, and therefore, and then we can. Once we have a hakaras hatov, then we can do mitzvos. That was what did I misunderstand that?
No, you didn't. So, but I'm just saying, well, why should you? Let's just say, that I like to work out, right? And someone came and gave me the key to this great workout room, put me in there, and gave me a trainer that pushes me to my, to nth degree.
I will pay I will pay good money to watch that.
Shouldn't I have a hakaras hatov to that guy? He gave me such a gift. Even though an outsider looking at it sees me dripping with sweat, panting, ready to collapse. But that's because the outsider doesn't understand the process. But I understand the process. And therefore I have a hakaras hatov to the person. So one could say that our nisyonos also, if we sort of, I'm not chas v'shalom asking for nisyonos. Don't get me wrong, and Hashem shouldn't test me. But they're really for our benefit.
For sure. No, I'm not.
So it's also a hakaras hatov.
I agree with the principle. I'm much more concerned about the application.
Which is?
The application of...
Ron, let's go back to the mashal. Do I owe that person who put me into the weight room? I mean, I'm someone who wants to work out.
Wait, I don't know if you can...
Do I owe that person a hakaras hatov for helping me reach my goal and my desires? Yes. So why should I have a hakaras hatov and owe something to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving me tests? Now I'm talking very high and very spiritual. Don't Hashem don't test me. But on paper, I should be grateful for them, and I assume in Olam Haba we will be grateful when we look back. I assume. Okay, you still there, Ron? I guess not. I don't know. Shalom, Goldstein. Shalom, Moshe.
How are you? How's everything, Rebbe?
Okay. We'd love to chat, but first we got to learn. So he's saying, Shumei Teraka, Kamashama Torah brings a pasuk, we saw it earlier, Vidata Mayoim, Kilois Benechem Ashalo Yodu Ashaloros Musa Hashem Akechem. You'll know today. Oh no, there's a different pasuk. That I'm not speaking to your children that didn't know and didn't see. The Musa Hashem Akechem is Godloi. His greatness, his Yodeh, Chazak, Zorin Tuya. All those things we talk about in Yitzias Mitzrayim, V'Soisoisa, V'Smasa, V'Sha'osa, V'Teich Mitzrayim, L'Favri, Melech Mitzrayim, V'Chol Artzai. V'Sha'osa, L'Chel Mitzrayim, Hashem did to the armies of Mitzrayim, V'Goymer, etc. V'Sha'osa, L'Chem Ba'Midbar, the wonders he did in the Midbar, V'Goymer, V'Sha'osa, Dasan Ba'Viram. And even that, what Hashem did to Dasan Ba'Viram, Asher Patzaretz as Piha, V'Tivloim, that has the land, the ground, opened its mouth and swallowed them. Rather, V'gomer continues the pasuk. Ki einechem harois is kol masi Hashem hagodah asher aseh. You saw it all firsthand. What was tremendous greatness Hashem did. Ushmatim was called mitzvah shonechim mitzavaya. And what's the conclusion? Therefore, keep the mitzvah. Kalim, in other words, hatfiyah sheyesh sabara aleichem lapid. Say the tfiyah, the claim that Hashem has on you, and that we're talking to people in the midbar, to serve Him. He Yosef Chazak is greater, Yosef Beiletus, and stands out more me'atviyah than the claim Sheyesh al B'neichem that Hashem would have on your next generation. Shaloyra was more to say Habar. They didn't see the wonders of Hashem. That's what the pasuk is saying. Goes through this whole lengthy recounting of the wonders that you saw. Not you. I'm not talking to the next generation. I'm talking to you who saw it all, and therefore Shmatim is called a mitzvah. You saw it firsthand. And only you, and not them, merited the Tovos HaKadosh HaLolu, merited this tremendous benefits. And you were saved from the punishments that Hashem brought on Mitzrayim and on Adas Korach. It's an interesting thing he's throwing in here, that it was a chesed in its own. When Hashem was punishing in Mitzrayim, it was a chesed on its own that Klal Yisrael was saved from it. When Korach and Adosa were punished, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu actually tells them, separate yourself from these Anoshim Haroyim, right? Otherwise, they would have been punished together. But he's saying that that's a chesed in its own. Therefore, you're obligated. You're more obligated. The obligation is greater to serve Hashem. Is a piece of land. Let me just see over here if he elaborates on this a little. If I just turn back a page, Rabbi Yeser Oimek says, "So, Iker Cheshvan Nefesh Uminyan Hakaras Hatov Kodma Paslechem is one of the standard Mefarshim on Chovos haLevavos. So he says that the Iker Cheshvan Nefesh we make has to do with Hakaras Hatov. Zelu Shoin Kama Sheyesh Lo Gmul Eitz Habora Al Ma'asav. To the extent that a person has the oaths to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what he does, as a parallel to that, how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu has on you the obligation to serve him for the good he did. Shuhu me'inyan ad kan l'shonig, says Ramatziel, Shuhu me'inyan mi hikdimani v'ashalim. Who was there before me that I owe him anything? And there's really we have no claim on the reward for the mitzvahs we do. When a person does, let's say, he puts a mezuzah on his door, we say, okay, then it's the mezuzah, I owe you something. Hashem, you owe me something. Hashem says, 1 minute. You owe me, I owe you something. Who gave you the house that you're putting the mezuzah on? I was there first, I gave you a house. You owe me. So we're not talking here about reward, we're talking about obligations. And the Hakaras Hatov gives us obligations. What he has from the gifts Hashem gave him, and the obligations that a person has to pay Hashem for those benefits. Okay. That's not what I was looking for. Yeah, he does say that you should note from here that the Hakaras Hatov is saying that we all need to have a Hakaras Hatov for being saved from Korach V'Adoseh, which is what he says, Taka. Okay, let's continue. Someone who believes in Hashem has to make for himself a cheshbon.
No, on the bottom.
I'm on the bottom. I skipped the paragraph. It's true. As far as other people, that their obligations, their jobs, that's on them, it's not the same. Rather dependent on the differences. How much they understand, and the differences that they have. So, per a person's comprehension of the good Hashem does to him, and per, in fact, the goodness that Hashem does to that specific person, that generates a certain amount of choiv that he's obligated to fulfill Hashem's mitzvahs. He says that someone believes in Hashem, so he has an obligation to make this cheshbon hanefesh to the most exact amount that he is able to do, to really figure out. It's like you have to sit and spend time every day with a pen and paper, writing down all kind of benefits you have. You have to teach yourself to see that they're benefits, and write and write and write, so that you could appreciate and you could. That's the cheshbon hanefesh. How much I owe Hashem. If I don't do that, I'm falling short in my Hakaras Hatov. If someone does you a benefit and you don't take note of what he did, you ignore it. It's a lack of Hakaras Hatov. Whatever he could do, actually, he should do. And I guess those obligations, things that he can't at this point fulfill. So at least you should know them. Maybe he's like talking about mitzvahs we can't do now. Hashem gave us many mitzvahs and goals. Most of the mitzvahs I say we can't fulfill. We don't have basic mikdash, we don't have korbanos. So if I can't, Kan Megalonu Rabbeinu Yisoid Gadol. Says Ramatzi. So here, haLevavos is explaining us a very fundamental thing. And he's going to speak about it more later. Even though a person can't do everything in the Maisa, still, he should have a desire, and he should to understand those obligations as clearly as he can, and to have a type of like Yelizah be able to. In other words, it's not enough. In other words, we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, and there's a whole slew of mitzvahs that we can't do. We can't do them. I think I went to a list of the mitzvahs that we could do. It's tiny. It's 30, 40, 50 mitzvahs. And of the whole, Ramach mitzvahs, a person who has Hakaras Hatov, he should live with that taiva, that desire. When will I be able to do them? I want to fulfill my obligations. I have Hakaras Hatov. I need to fulfill them. It's not enough to say, okay, nobody said me this, And this is sort of the litmus test. So who's the true Oved Hashem? Does it bother you about the ones you can't do? What do you say? Okay, I'm an itis. Let's move on. Right? That's what someone who lives with the letter of the law, so to speak. I can't do it. A true Oived Hashem wants to do it. And if all this he can't, and he lives with that. Oh, look. Yeshna b'nei Adam, there are people so they can't fulfill a certain mitzvah. They can't get to minyan. For some reason, you have tremendous stomach problems. You can't put on tefillin that day. And so you sum it up by saying, I'm an honest patrani. I'm exempt. Hakaras teaching us that at least I should have kisufim, longing to know the mitzvah as well as I can, and have a taiva that I should be able to actually do it. That a person should involve himself in learning about levels that he's not at yet. So he should know that there's higher levels of serving Hashem. The knowledge and knowing about it, it's going to cause him to desire the shtayach that he should have a connection to him. And as time goes on, he'll go up the ladder. And then he'll be able to get those levels. But if I don't know about those levels and I don't go to find them, he's never going to come to that. And that's why it continues here. The Hakaras haLevavos. He should verbalize that he has a desire. I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it. You should say it. It's a big thing of Avigdor Miller to verbalize things, say things. And have longings for them in your heart. Which on the bottom he says means all my desires and all my requests of akashosi and achalai, where is it? Yikoinu drochai lishmachukech. Shleitieli shum amini, I should have nothing stopping me. That's what his longing is. Void Omar, he says further in Tilum. Right? The Chachamim, the Yerei Shamayim, they desire the Torah, they desire the mitzvahs more than regular people desire gold and silver, etc. When a person does that, because Baruch Hu will judge him favorably on the fact that he in fact never got to do them. But from your end, the tzapa is li'item b'am yal b'yad t'yalo yachos l'malas kol chavosav klaper abarish b'shori l'malei. You have to be always waiting and looking, longing. When will I be able to do those obligations? When will I be able to get there? Don't look for excuses, rationalizations. They lift us in order to pater us, exempt us from doing the obligations. Don't look for the excuses. Don't leave them. Don't forget about them. Someone who's mefazes the thing doesn't give it importance. It comes to haunt them later, comes to punish them later. Okay, Perek Gimel tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem. And that's the 30, we'll start the 30 Cheshbon HaNefeshes. I don't know if we'll be able to do one a day, but we'll try to do something. Shkoyach, everybody. Moshe, you alive?
Murdik. Yeah, I'm putting the kids to bed. That's why
Okay.
that's what's going on here.
That's your
Mamish.
Mamish. Putting them to bed to the sound of Torah. It's like the Amoraim.
Right.
The mother of Amoraim used to bring the baby into the Beis Medrash. Wow, amazing.